Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to today's session. So today we will be covering overview of audit of public sector undertakings. Okay, we will be covering overview of audit of public sector undertaking. That is a chapter 15 that we have. Before I go into the deep and before I discuss what is the content and everything, I want to give you a background about public sector undertakings. Basically, when I talk about public sector undertakings, okay, I'm talking about entities which are either government companies, entities where have a government, where the state government, central government has a substantial interest, okay, or you can say where the participation by the government is more than 51%, 51% or more. So these are called as a government companies, okay. Now here the role of government is higher. The involvement of government is higher, whether it could be a state government or central government. A public sector undertaking could be, established by a law. It could be a department of a government. A lot of things can be possible. A lot of things can be possible in that scenario. So altogether, we call them as a public sector undertakings. Okay. Why we are studying this particular chapter? The reason because, okay, auditing of a public sector undertaking is bit different than what we have seen on auditing of a normal company. Logic is same, but there is still some changes are there. We need to understand the environment of a public sector undertaking. Okay, what is the overall environment that we are talking about? We are talking about how they function, how they work upon. So those things greatly impact the audit also. Remember SA 315, understanding the entity and its environment. Same way, we need to understand the working of public sector undertaking. We need to understand the entity itself, the undertaking itself. We need to understand the working, the environment of public sector undertakings. Then only we will be able to, fully understand the auditing requirement for that. And for that, we will discuss the framework, we will discuss government audits, we will discuss different type of audits that are performed in a public sector undertaking. And a lot of these assignments are, through empanelment. So, there is an empanelment happening for the public sector undertaking audits. And, for these empanelments, CA can apply, CA firms can apply, okay. And as a result, if you are applying for the empanelment and if you are, actually going for a public audit of a public sector undertaking, then you should be aware that how it actually is being performed. Okay. So let's start the discussion. Okay. Now, what I want to discuss over here is that public sector undertaking, I provided you the information, the framework of a government audit. In government or in public sector undertakings, not only charter accountants are there who audit it, but there are many other, participants, or I would say stakeholders who, look into the working, who look into the, operations, who look into the financial matters of the that undertaking from an audit point of view. Okay, and I'll explain like who are those stakeholders. I'll explain in a while. But there are multiple stakeholders which are looking or doing a job of a watchdog over the financial matters, operational matters, or even functioning of the those undertakings. Now there could be multiple, like there could be departments which are managed by the governments, like railway department, telecommunication, road, transport, okay, postal. So these are the departments, again, they fall under the category of public sector undertaking. And again, there are some, you can say, stakeholders who are looking for that. Again, there are companies set up under Companies Act. Okay, they are also part of the public sector undertakings as a whole. There are corporations established in the specific act, LIC. Okay, Then you have different corporations for which they have a different act. Okay. Then these corporations are also called as the public sector undertakings. Okay. They fall under the purview of public sector undertakings. And again, those stakeholders are also interested here. Okay. Now, coming to the part, okay, why we as a chartered accountant need to understand. As I told you, there are multiple stakeholders. We need to understand what is the requirement of a particular stakeholder. What are the requirements of each individual stakeholders, so that whenever we are either auditing in any form, or we are, contributing with someone else in the audit of public sector undertaking, we should be aware what are our roles and responsibilities, and what are the expectation from us. Okay, let's say for example, you have been appointed by CNAG to audit a particular scheme. Do away with the, for example, as of now, forget everything, undertakings and everything. I'm asking you, okay, there was one particular scheme. Okay, scheme, for example, midday meal scheme. Okay, now there was a midday meal scheme. Now you are being appointed to audit that do a financial audit of that particular scheme. Now that can happen. There are some, let's say, subsidized rate store, ration stores. You can be appointed by CNAG for auditing those particular, financial matters of auditing the financial matters of those stores, canteen stores. A lot can be done in this area. In a lot of way, chartered accountant plays an important role. And you will come to know when you will see about, empanelments, you will see about, how a chartered accountant plays a very important role in these areas. Okay. So they have a lot of, empanelment going on for this particular, for these particular kind of audits. So you can, as a firm or as an individual chartered accountant, they can, fill in, and they can actually, contribute, and they get the audits for this particular, in this particular area. Okay. Now, once we understand basically how they work, we will be able to, perform the audit. But to perform the audit, we need to again think of how to perform the audit. What should be the planning? What should be, each and every step over there in the audit that we are going to perform. Okay. So here I will be providing an overview of the framework that one should follow while auditing the public sector undertakings. And to understand that particular framework, we need to first get familiar with certain terms. We need to get familiar with certain concepts which are unique to public sector undertakings. Okay. So, just a minute. I will show you something with respect to empanelment, and then we can, just for your understanding, for your, for your understanding about the matter, about the topic. Okay. Just let me share this particular screen. Okay. This is a website, okay, managed by CNAG, where CA firms, okay, can, apply for the empanelment. So they have some features, CA firm, partnership firms, LLPs can, apply for the empanelment as per the policy. So there are policies which they roll out for the empanelment. So if I just show you the policy, see, this is the policy for empanelment of CA firms, LLPs, and selection of auditors. Okay. So it could be a full-time practice. So there is a point-based criteria. You need to satisfy all these criteria, and then you will be able to apply for the empanelment. Rotations happens, and a lot of things are there. Selections of the firms. Okay. So a detailed policy is there, basically. Okay. Now, based on the policy, you can apply for the empanelment, and then on the basis of empanelment, you will get the audit. Okay. Whatever audit the CNAG may think that, is appropriate for the firm. Now, that is the way you apply for the empanelment, and this is how a chartered accountant plays a role. Okay, they are very much important and they are very much involved in these kind of forums. So it's not something that chartered accountants are not involved. No. Okay, scheme is not a company. How will I apply standards that I have learned till now? How will I apply asset if I have to perform an audit of a particular scheme, which is basically run by a particular department? How will I, first of all, apply the standards? It's not an entity. They might not be having a separate, financial statements. What I will do, number two, if there is no separate legal entity that I'm going to audit, whom should I report? Like communication with those charged with governance. Who are the governance over here? Who is the management over here? All these terms we need to understand from the point of view of public sector undertaking and audit of that particular scheme. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, you are auditing a particular scheme. So all these schemes are run by a particular department. It could be, food and safety, or it could be telecommunication. It could be XYZ Ministry of Government. Okay. Now, those departments or ministries of the government are responsible for execution of those schemes. So they decide specific committee for that particular execution of the scheme. They decide who are the chairperson of the committee, who are the basically the stakeholders and everyone. So they decide that, and on the basis of that, then the particular scheme is implemented. As a result, we need to understand that how and who are the relevant stakeholders from that point of view. Okay. So first stakeholder, let's say in an audit of a company, I address my audit report to whom? So the question is, in audit of a company, I address my audit report to which particular stakeholder? I will audit, to whom I will address my audit report in an audit of a company? Simple question. Very good, Preeti. Come on, guys. To whom I will actually, address my audit report in an audit of a company? Come on, guys. Pretty much easy. Trust me. We have already done multiple times. Come on, quickly, guys. Very good, Mancha. The first one is correct. Very good, Manish. Mohammed, I think your answer is not coming complete. Can you rewrite it again? Come on, guys, quickly. Pretty much easy question. To whom do we address our audit report? To whom do we address our audit report? Pretty much easy. And Anumula, who will be the user of my financial statement then? Who will be the user of my financial statement then? Okay, let me show you one audit report and then we'll discuss on the basis of that. See, this is the independent audit report of a bank, of a particular company that I'm talking about, any company. It is addressed to the members of the company. Okay. Or you can say shareholders of the company, members of the company. Because These are the ones who appoint you as an auditor. These are the ones who appoint you as an auditor. Correct? So they appoint you as an auditor, and that's why you address your report to them. However, in a case of a public sector undertaking, our appointment is not done by shareholders. It is done by CNAG. So we need to understand who is a CNAG and, like, what is the role of CNAG in that particular area. Because CNAG, okay, Comptroller and Audit General of India, Supreme Audit Institution of India, are the ones who appoint us. We need to address our report to them. And they guide us, they provide us all the details that how our reporting should be done, what should be the scenario and everything. And for that, we need to understand, about CNAG. We need to understand what is CNAG. So basically, there are Article 148 to 151 in an Indian Constitution, which provides some background about the CNAG. Like CNAG appointment is done by the president. Okay. There are special procedures to remove CNAG, salary, other conditions are there. There's an act also which is passed, which governs the, CNAG's salaries and conditions of appointment. Okay. After that, there is Article 149, okay, which talks about the duties and the powers that CNAG can exercise in connection with the accounts of the public sector undertaking, union, state, or other bodies that are where government is interested. So again, as I was talking about, there is a CNAG duties, powers, and condition of service act, which defines these functions in detail. Okay. Then you have Article 150 talking about on the advice of the CNAG and president to prescribe such forms of the account for the state and union. Okay. Article 151, very important. Audit report of CNAG relating to the central and state government should be submitted to the president, or in case of if it is a state, then governor of the state. Okay. Which is then laid before the parliament or legislative assembly of these states. Okay. Now that is particular, role and responsibility of CNAG. And when I talk about they are laid before the parliament, I'll show you examples of those audit reports. Okay, how these audit reports are. And we will then, not now discuss in detail, but in some time in today's lecture only, we will discuss those audit reports in detail because these are the various different audit reports. Okay. I will show you one or two things together and then I'll show you a report which is being submitted now only, okay, which is available. So this is report of CNAG on state public sector enterprises. Okay, like state public sector enterprises in the government of Assam with respect to the government of Assam, and for the year ended 31st March 2022. Okay, now this report was issued in 2023. So this is the report. Then this report, once this report is prepared, this report is laid in the parliament. Okay, this report is then laid in the parliament, and if you read over here, okay, this report of Comptroller and Audit General on the public sector enterprise has been prepared for the submission to the governor of the state of Assam under Article 151 of the Constitution of India for being laid on the floor of the state legislature. And the same way, if it is for the central government, it will be laid in the parliament. Now, the accounts of the companies are audited by CNAG under the provision of Section 143 of Companies Act. I will discuss certain provisions of 143 also, which are very important in the current scenario. These accounts certified by the statutory auditors, these are the chartered accountants appointed by CNAG under the Companies Act, subject to the supplementary audit by the CNAG, whose complements supplement the report of the statutory auditors. Now understand, and these statutory corporations, okay, are kind of, Assam State Transport Corporation, Assam Electricity Regulatory Commission, regulatory body, and others are there also. So again, chartered accountant being appointed as an auditor for those public sector undertakings or public sector enterprise that we are discussing over here. Then these reports were submitted to the CNAG. CNAG, based on their report, prepared one combined report. Then it was submitted to the state governor to be placed in the legislative assembly or state legislation. If I show you some overview on this, just to show you an overview. So as of March, 51 state public sector enterprises were audited. 51, 16 non-working, and 1 electricity regulatory commission. Now these many were audited, and if I talk about 51, then 51 different chartered accountant or maybe same were appointed, and they audited all these entities. Now they audited in such a way that it provided the required detail, okay, or it was drafted in that way that CNAG could use that report to form his own report here. Now, that's why it becomes very important for us to understand what is the expectation from us as a chartered accountant. Now, if a CNAG tomorrow appoints us, then we should be able to cater that requirement that okay, what is expected from me and what will happen to my report. It's not just in a company we prepare a report will go in front of the members, okay. First, it will be approved by the board, then it will go in front of the members in AGM, member will approve it. It is then filed with the MCA, or it is filed or shared with the relevant stakeholders. That's it. Not in the public sector undertaking. It's different in the public sector undertaking. That's why it's very important for us to understand, okay, where our report will go, who will be our stakeholders of the report, okay, and how our report will be interpreted. For example, this particular company, okay, now this particular company has some information, separate information that is reported over here. For example, the company had 3 operational power plants installed with the capacity of this. During this year, out of the plant capacity, 5 projects, the company commissioned 3 projects. Of the 3 projects completed during this period, 1 project was commissioned on time, while other 2 projects were commissioned with a delay of 6 to 9 years. Now, this is something not a CNAG on itself has identified. This might be reported in the audit report of a chartered accountant that there was a delay. And chartered accountant, while auditing it, okay, he was aware that I need to pay attention to these areas. And how he was aware? Because he understood what is expected out of me while auditing a public sector undertaking. And that will happen when you understand the type of audit or the type of assignment it is being provided to you. Number 2, where your report will go. So expectation on the both ends. Like, okay, how and where your report will go, where it will be, then forwarded, what it will be done with your report, who is looking at your report, who are the stakeholders, what they are looking for. Okay. So who are the basically readers of your audit report? And number 2 is what type of engagement are you into? So for example, non-adherence to the investment policy of the company. So these are the things which might be there in your audit report, and from there they are reported to over here. So based on that, you need to understand what will happen with respect to your report. Same, I'll just show you quickly. For examples, business reports to be laid. Just a minute. These are the papers which are generally laid in Parliament. This is how Lok Sabha's one. And if you see annual report of this particular company, it's laid in the Parliament. Okay. So annual report of this particular company, along with the audited accounts and comments of the CNAG thereon. So these are the papers laid in the Parliament. Now, as I was saying, for the state entities, it will be laid in the state legislative assembly, and for for the centrally managed ones, they are laid in the parliament. First in Lok Sabha, then subsequently might be there go in Rajya Sabha. Okay. Now, what happens from there? Once they are laid, what happens? Because we need to understand end-to-end process. What happens after that? Sorry. Okay. What happens after that, basically? So after that, once the reports are laid, okay, then what happens is these reports are discussed in the parliaments, and there are certain committees. Okay. Then there are certain committees who then pick up these reports and they discuss these reports, and they might do further detailed understanding of the reports or the comments or the observations provided by CNAG. So there are these three kinds of committees, financial committees. Okay, I'll show you, live. See, we have a tab of financial committee on the website of Lok Sabha, that is sansad.in. Nothing that is available publicly. If you click financial committee, you will see three. One is the estimates committee, one is the public accounts committee, and third one is a committee on public undertaking. We'll understand one by one each. Let's go to public account committee. Now, if you talk about public account committee, it's a committee that looks into, okay, whether the money was dispersed legally on the service or purpose which they were applied for. So, for example, if there is a specific, purpose for which the money was supposed to be dispersed in particular entity, then whether actually that has been dispersed for that or not. So, if you see here, it is provided the scope and functions of the committee, that the money shown in the accounts have been dispersed, okay, and were legally available for and applicable to the service for which they have been applied or charged. For example, now there was a money with respect to some projects, whether that was dispersed legally for that particular project only, and whether they were applied to that particular project only, let's say power plant. So government allocated some funds, whether that funds were utilized for that power plant only, whether they were legally applied to that particular project. So a lot of things are there with respect to the money when it is allocated to a particular project. Number two, the expenditure conforms to the authority which governs it. Means whether the expenditure was authorized, kind of. Okay, whether the expenditure was authorized, kind of. Third, reappropriation has been made in accordance with the provision made in this behalf under the rules framed by the competent authority. Reappropriation means application or distribution of funds. Okay, so whether the distribution of funds was done appropriately or not, kind of. These are the, committee has to satisfy themselves on these particular part. And there are certain duties also to examine the statement of accounts, to examine the statement of accounts showing income expenditure, okay, to consider the report of CNAG in cases where the president may have required them to conduct an audit. Okay, so these are certain parts where the committee plays an important role. Now, if I talk about reports, or if I'll just show you, meetings held or sittings. So if you see, like there was some meeting held and they considered the draft report. Some evidences were considered. So they were doing some, review of the reports. And then once the review is done, okay, they publish their own report. So for example, improper exemption of IGST on import of pharmaceutical products. This is a report issued by here, Public Accounts Committee. Okay. So there might be particular case where they might have already seen, they might have already, gone through in detail, because there might be some observation in a CNAG report. So see, Chairperson, Public Account Committee have been authorized by the committee to present 79th report on improper exemption of IGST on import of pharmaceutical products based on para 4.8.3 of CNAG report number 17 of 2020 relating to Ministry of Finance, Department of Revenue. So there was a report, audit report, which was issued by CNAG. Then on that, in that report, there was an observation. That observation then was picked up by a public accounts committee. They went into detail of observation, and they will provide every detail. Like, okay, the subject was carried for further forward for examination by the previous committee. Sittings happened. Okay, and then they went and understood the detail about the observation. Okay, what was the observation? Why it was? They go in very much detail, and they then present their report. Okay, so this was then the report was presented. I'll not go much in much detail of the report. Okay, so once they go in detail, they provide their observation or recommendation about the observation. Okay, so they provide some recommendations. Means understand a link. You were appointed for auditing certain things. Okay, in a public for a public sector undertaking, you audited, you submitted your report to CNAG. Now your audit report contained an observation. That observation then went to the CNAG's report, got compiled into a one single report, and that was presented in the Parliament. In that Parliament, the report was then picked up by Public Accounts Committee, and their observation was picked up, and then they did further elaboration, analysis, and investigation on that particular observation, and they presented their recommendations. How to mitigate that observation? What should be done in this scenario? Okay, and then this is then presented to the government or to the Parliament as a whole, this report, and accordingly, whatever actions are required, those actions are taken. So from start to end, how your particular report plays a very important role in case of an audit of a public sector undertaking. Any doubts? NFRA has no role, Mancha. No, it's not NFRA which is involved here. I will show you some other state committees which are involved, not NFRA. CNAG may summarize, may not summarize, Anumula. That depends upon the type of audit. Any doubt? Any doubt till now? Same way, we have other committees also. Okay. So I will show you. Second is an estimate committee. Again, when the papers are laid, reports are laid in the Parliament, estimates committee is also part of a Parliament. What they do is they actually, they report on what economies, improvement in organization or efficiencies, administration reforms, or, consistence with the policy can be brought into a particular functioning of a public sector undertaking. They suggest alternative policies. They examine whether the money is well laid out within the limits of the policies, and they suggest the form in which the estimate shall be presented to the Parliament. Okay. So they have their specific purpose with respect to the estimates, as the name suggests. Okay. They examine the estimates, their economies and everything, and improvements if any required. They suggest alternative policies to bring efficiency. Okay. And based on that, they, perform their function. Now I'll show you there some of their reports then they presented. Let's say, for example, this one. I'll pick up implementation of development of solar parks and ultra mega solar power project review. And let's just pick it upon or for discussion. By this way, you have a various reports presented by them. Okay. Not this one. Let me show you another one. Because some reports might be picked up due to what I say, due to the audit report, the reports which were submitted by CNEG or which were placed in the parliament. There might be certain things which might be, based on the suo moto or some other, way they have picked up particular topic. So it can be based on anything. Okay. So basically, here one report was submitted, and on basis of that report, this part was particularly picked up, and then observations were there again in the same way, but working on the observation side on estimates only. Okay, again related to the estimates, based on estimates only. Okay, so that was our estimates committee. Now the third committee that is there is Committee on Public Sector Undertakings. Okay, or you can call it Public Undertakings Committee. So this committee has a function that is to examine the reports of the and accounts of public undertakings specified in the fourth schedule to the rules and procedures of the Lok Sabha, to examine the reports, if any, of the CNAG, okay, on the public undertakings, to examine in the context of autonomy and efficiency over the public sector undertakings, to exercise such other functions as vested by the Public Account Committee and the Estimate Committee in relation to the public undertakings. So basically, this particular committee, again, on similar to the Public Account Committee, has a role to examine the reports, to examine the accounts of public sector undertaking. Okay. Now, this particular examination is thorough examination. Okay, comprehensive. It not only covers financial matters, but they also cover operational matters, program, policies, and everything. Okay, I'll just show you some reports of that. Now see, this particular report, okay, report issued by the Committee on Public Undertakings, or basically you can call it Committee on Public Undertakings. Now, this particular point was taken because there was, an observation based on para number 3.2 in CNAG report number 13 of 2019 relating to New India Assurance Company Limited. And there was some observation in that particular report. Okay. Now, based on that, they picked up that particular observation. Okay. And accordingly, they analyzed that observation. So this report of the committee deals with the action taken by the government on the observation or recommendation contained in the 19th report of the Committee of Public Undertakings, titled as Loss Due to Imprudent Underwriting and Lack of Proper Risk Management. Again, so there was particular observation. That observation was picked up by the CNEG in his report, that was placed, and then again, there was one report which was issued by the Committee of Public Undertakings. Then government took some rectification action action on that, okay, to rectify the observation. Now, then that actions were verified by the committee, and the report has been issued accordingly. Okay, so by this way, from start to end, these are the things work. Any doubt? So we understood the Public Account Committee, with a real example I just showed you. We understood about the Estimates Committee. We understood about the Committee on Public Undertakings. They do a detailed overview they do a detailed view of the reports compared to the, Public Account Committee. So by this way, CNAG, with the help of charter accountants, they prepare the report, they present it, and those reports are then, taken by the committees, various committees. Clear? Any doubt? Devraj, can you just explain which coupon you are talking about? Which coupon rate? This was there on the public website of Sansad. You can go sansad dot dot in, and you can get all the details over there. So, Anumula, there is a criteria for the empanelment. You need to satisfy the empanelment criteria to get into the empaneled list. And then from there, you are selected for certain audits. To Parliament. So committees present the report to the Parliament. Then Parliament basically, discuss on the observations, recommendations of the report, and they try to, then government then try to, implement the recommendations which are there. Any further doubt on this? Any further doubt? No? No doubts? Okay, then let me proceed forward. Now, as I told you, you understood the first part. Where is your report is going? Who will be the stakeholders of your report? Okay, and who will be the stakeholders who will be looking after whatever work you will do as an auditor? The second part is a type of engagement. Remember, I told you there will be two things that you need to understand. One, where your report is going. Number two, what is the type of engagement that you are involved into? Okay. Now, see, here the audit is conducted by CNAG, but CNAG office, cannot get involved in each and every audit fully. That's why they appoint you to conduct on their behalf. Okay. So CNAG will appoint you and you will conduct audit on behalf of CNAG. Okay. Now, when you are conducting audit on behalf of CNAG, you have to first of all understand what type of audit it is, and then what are the criteria, what are the laws, regulations, rules, standards applicable to me or as an auditor while conducting the audit. Because those are directly related to the audit that you are going to perform. Okay. So let's say, for example, CNAG has appointed you to conduct audit, financial audit. Simple one. I'll not take the example of as of now compliance or performance audit, but I'm taking an example of financial audit. Okay. So CNAG appointed you to conduct financial audit. Okay. And financial audit can be of anything. It can be of states. It can be of, public sector undertakings. It can be of, different schemes. A lot can be there. A lot can be there in that. Okay. So that is something basically you need to understand. Okay. What kind of assignment is given to us? Now, once you are going to conduct a financial audit, at that particular point in time, you need to understand, okay, how these particular financial matters, or, in a company, we know that, accounting standards are applicable, Ind AS is applicable. But for a particular state or for a particular, let's say, scheme, which accounting standards they are following, what is the gap, generally accepted accounting principles they are following, we need to understand that. Then only you will be able to understand or you will be able to conduct basically the audit. Okay. Now, can anyone tell me, okay, can anyone tell me, let's say, for example, we have, schedule 3 for the companies. We have Schedule 3 applicable for the companies. Can anyone tell me what is the format or format of balance sheet or P&L applicable for the state governments or central government? How they present their financials? Does anyone know about that? And seriously tell me how many of you don't know. Okay. How many of you don't know? Seriously tell me that one. And how many of you know? How many of you know what format state government or central government uses to present their financial statement? Anyone? It is not same as the companies for sure. It is not same as the companies. I'll show you something. Just a minute. So this is the particular, summary of fiscal operations or basically, financial transactions, kind of a P&L of a state government. These are the revenue receipts. Okay, this is the revenue expenditure. This is the capital receipts. Okay, and this is the capital outlay. And then you have a closing balance. Summary of fiscal operations. Now the question comes is, if you are auditing such a scenario, if you are auditing such a case where these kind of formats are you've never seen before, how will you audit? Or for example, let's say you have a non-tax revenue. When the government is supposed to recognize non-tax revenue, when the government is supposed to recognize revenue from grants from government of India, whether it's on accrual basis, it's on cash basis. Okay, so all these questions then will come into your mind when you try to audit it, because these things, when it comes to a scheme, when it comes to a state government, or when it comes to a particular public sector undertaking, you might be seeing these kind of financial transactions. They are pretty much common, and at that particular point in time, the question comes is, are we that much equipped? Okay, we have to be equipped. That is for another. That is another area. But we need to first understand. We need to equip ourselves with all these terminologies, the gap that is applicable to particular a scheme or public sector undertaking or a department. Okay, and how and what particular financial reporting framework is being followed. I'm just talking about the financial audit. I'm not going as of now to the compliance audit, the performance audit. So that's why this is a very specific area when it comes to the auditing of public sector undertaking. Very specific, a very particular area. You should have understanding of how these things are recorded, how these things are recognized in a particular financial statement, measurement criteria, presentation disclosure criteria, the general accounting principles applicable to these entities. Okay, a lot of things are there. Till the time you don't understand, you won't be able to perform the audit. So it becomes imperative for us to understand what we are auditing and how much it is different than what we have learned till now. That's why this is a special area, auditing public sector undertaking, because it contains special things, different things compared to a normal audit. Uh, Again, see, whether they follow cash basis, whether they follow accrual basis, what is the format that differs from undertaking to undertaking. So there is no standard one, but there are laws, regulations applicable which decide the format or which decides the way that is required to be recorded in the accounts. Okay. Now, that was the one type of audit that I was talking about. That was a financial audit. Okay. Only financial audit I was talking about. But it's not restricted to the financial audit. No, it's not. We have compliance, we have performance. Okay. We have, proprietary audit. We have comprehensive audit. Different type of audits are there. When I talk about audits done by the CNAG, we have a different type of audits. You will find compliance audit, you will find performance audit. Now, what are these kind of audits that we need to see? I told you a background about the financial audit. Okay, so financial audit basically kind of talking about financial matters, numbers, and everything that we have seen in the companies also. But again, very very critical to understand the financial matters of a of an entity, public sector undertaking, because still you have different element compared to a audit of a normal company. Then we have compliance audit. Okay. Now, what is compliance audit? How it is different from the financial audit? I'll explain you with an example of a report, with an example of one particular report. Let me open that particular report, and then we'll be able to understand in detail that particular report. Okay. Now, what is compliance audit? Compliance audit is an independent assessment of whether a given subject matter is in compliance with the applicable criteria. I know most of you might not got this, but let's understand this particular sentence with a real example. This is a compliance audit report issued by CNAG. Okay. So compliance audit report of Controller and Audit General of India, that is for the government of Andhra Pradesh. That is pertaining to a financial year ended on March 2021. Now, let's have a summary of this report. This report contains significant results of compliance audit of these particular departments. Okay, and these reports then are, brought or submitted to the governor of Andhra Pradesh, and then as per the Article 151, it will be submitted to the legislature of the state. Okay. Now, that is the general procedure. Now, what this report contains, basically, when I talk about compliance report, what this report check about? Okay. The definition says that compliance audit talks about, or it's an independent assessment whether a given subject matter is in compliance with the applicable criteria. So there are two things we are talking about. One is a given subject matter, and one is an applicable criteria. So we are checking whether the subject matter is in compliance with the applicable criteria. Let's understand what is the subject matter and what is the applicable criteria with the help of this report. Now, if you see what is written is, the report contains findings of an audit from a test check of accounts and transactions of 8 departments of government of Andhra Pradesh during 2019 to 21. Okay. And this is the summary. So from here, I could sense, okay, 8 departments can be my subject matter. Okay. Let's understand further, but now in compliance with this particular act, Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2024, the state has been bifurcated into 2 successor states. Okay, fine. Okay. However, GOAP, the government of Andhra Pradesh decided to develop a greenfield capital, namely Amravati, on this particular whatever it is there. Audit was conducted on the specific secretary, municipal administration and urban development, Andhra Pradesh Capital Region Development Authority in 3 spells. So audit was conducted for the offices of Special Chief Secretary, Municipal Administration and Capital Region Development Authority. Okay. So I can say, okay, these are kind of, subject matter over here. Now, what is then is required to be, is applicable criteria in this scenario? The applicable criteria was that the audit was done in order to assess whether the planning, development of a new capital city was comprehensive, land pooling and acquisition was implemented in accordance with the applicable rules, regulations, and assurance to the beneficiary landowners, and agreements were fulfilled within the time, and infrastructure was developed in a transparent way. So kind of, they are checking whether the development was in accordance with the applicable rules and regulations. Now here, development of a city, which was supposed to be done by 3 authorities. So that is my subject matter. And the applicable criteria is the rules and regulations that was supposed to be followed while developing the particular city. Okay. If I just show you, yeah. Compliance with the compliance on the audit of applicable environmental laws in Visakhapatnam district. Okay. Now, again, so they are doing compliance with the applicable environmental laws. So environmental laws are my subject matter. They are checking whether the environmental laws were complied or not in a particular district. Now that particular district will be my, subject matter. So subject matter and environmental laws will be the applicable criteria. Okay. Again, non-completion of a maternity and child health block, or you can say non-levy of penalty for delayed supplies of drugs and dressing materials. Again, these will be subject to some certain policies, okay, and procedures that are there. So I'll just show you here. I'll show you the subject matter that we are talking about. So chapter 2 contains 10 compliance audit observations, okay, on different areas. And this is based on different subject matters or policies that were supposed to be complied with. Okay. How CNAG is auditing? So CNAG has an audit authority derived from Article 149 to 151 that we just saw at the start. Okay. This audit of expenditure is carried out under Section 13 of DPC Act. That is the CNAG duties, power and condition of service act. Okay. Local bodies are audited under Section 21 of DPC Act. The principles and methodologies for various audits are prescribed in the auditing standards and the regulation on audit and accounts, as well as other guidelines and manual and instruction issued by or on behalf of CNAG. So here, the auditing standards, regulation on audit, these are issued by CNAG that are required to be followed while auditing over here. The way the audit is being planned and conducted, I'm talking about compliance audit. So how the audit is being planned? First, they do the risk assessment. That is, planning for the audit of entities or scheme is based on the risk assessment involving certain criteria like how much expenditure is incurred, when the last audit was done, how the scheme is complex, how the activities are complex, priority according to the activity by government, level of delegated financial powers, a lot of things are there. Then they plan the audit. Okay. Audit objectives, scope, methodology, sample for auditing entities, everything. And then inspection is done. Basically, auditing is done. And the final report is then prepared. Okay. So this is how the audit, a compliance audit is done, basically. And if you see, you will find, detailed observations also of the compliance audit. So you will have a detailed observation, various laws and regulations that were applicable, which were not complied with. Okay. So this is how the compliance audit work. Basically, what they do is they have a subject matter, given subject matter, for example, they have a given subject matter, for example, development of city, and they have applicable criteria as the rules and regulations to develop that. Okay. And they then verify regularity with respect to adherence of the subject matter. For example, these rules were followed or not. Proprietary observations of general principle governing sound financial management. One of the example I just show you was let me show you one example of that such matter. See, unfruitful expenditure towards provisioning of underground drainage system. Unfruitful means that was done, but it remained incomplete as requisite funds were not provided, and so it became unfruitful. So nothing came out from that expenditure of 1.58 CR. Okay. Now, when I talk about proprietary matter, means observation of general principles governing sound financial management, that whatever expenditure you are doing has something out of it. It is giving some benefit. These are not unfruitful expenditures. So they check for the regularity, that is compliance, and they check for the propriety. Kind of example, if I give you, is unfruitful expenditures. Okay. Now, that is again done with respect to a financial statement. Okay. It could be now compliance audit could be separately as an individual compliance audit. It could be done could be with the performance audit. They can be done in different ways. Can be done with the financial audit, can be done separately, can be done with the performance audit. Okay. So there are different perspectives of doing these kind of audits. So as I told you, the process is first they consider general principles of compliance audit, like they determine the auditable entities. Okay, which auditable entities they can do. The phase that I was talking about was risk assessment over here. In this example, if I talk about this one, planning for the audits and schemes, which includes your identification of the entities. Okay. Then develop an annual plan. So they develop annual plan. On basis of that, they determine compliance audit objective and scope. they develop strategy, they identify subject matter and criteria, they understand the entity. Okay, what is the entity? It's a government authority, it's a department, it's a sub department or function of a particular department. Okay, they understand the materiality for planning purposes, they assess the risk and plan the procedures. Now if I tell you, okay, do a compliance audit for development of a city, you need to understand what laws and regulations are applicable, what is the materiality, okay, who is the particular stakeholder for me, who is the management, who is the those start with governance in this scenario, understanding the whole structure of that particular department. So for example, if I talk about this particular department over here, um, let's say I'm talking about this particular department. So Andhra Pradesh Capital Region Development Authority, okay, which was established under provisions of this particular act. Now, who is the head of this authority? Who is looking after for these particular decision making? Whom to contact? Who will provide me the information? A lot of things are there. A lot of things. In company, you have a structure, you have a management, you have those charged with governance, you have the various department, procurement, P2P, O2C, okay, R2R, various different departments in a company. You have chief financial officer, CFO, you have CEO, managing directors, sales officers, a lot of, already who are there in a particular company, but in department, in this particular kind of authority, what is the structure, organization structure, who are the responsible, who are the decision makers, everything you need to understand from scratch. And it will not be the same that you have already seen in the audit of a company. Okay, so basically these particular departments or these authorities work in a different way. They have a different authority, they have a different decision making authorities, and accordingly we need to understand first what is basically the entity is about, what is the background of the entity, environment, internal controls, decision making, where is the risk, what is the amount we are looking for, and then you will perform the audit and you will then evaluate and report the audit about the audit. Any doubt? Any doubt till now? Any doubt, guys? No? If no further doubts, can we proceed further? Okay, let's proceed further. Now, when I talk about compliance audit, we understood we are checking compliance with laws and regulations. Okay, we are checking unfruitful expenditures, proprietary matters. Now, the second type of audit which is there is performance audit that we need to understand. The second type of engagement where we could, play a very important role. Now, what is performance audit? Performance audit is an, objective and systematic examination of the evidence for the purpose of providing independent assessment of the performance of a government organization, program, activity, function in order to provide information to improve public accountability, facilitate decision making by parties with responsibility to oversee or initiate corrective actions. Okay. Again, I know you might have not understood, so I'll explain with an example. Again, performance audit is an objective and systematic examination uh, of a government organization, program, activity, function. Okay. So government organization or a program or an activity or a function. So we know who, like, what is the entity whose performance audit is being carried out. It could be a government organization. It could be a program. It could be an activity or a function of a government organization. Now I have an example where we have a report by CNAG, okay, on rural and urban water supply schemes. This is the program, not a government organization. I'm talking about a program or an activity over here. Rather, it's more of a program than an activity, but it's a program which is run by Government of Haryana. Okay, performance audit has been done for this particular program. Now let's understand with an example here. Okay. Then in performance audit, what is done is objective and systematic examination of evidence. Objective and systematic examination of evidence is done. Okay, fine. In audit also, we do examination of evidence. Here also, we'll do examination of evidence. But why we are doing examination of evidence? We are doing to provide an independent assessment of the performance and to provide information to improve public accountability, facilitate decision making, okay, with responsibility to oversee initiative corrective actions. Means here we are providing or we are doing examination of the evidence to understand how the organization, program, activity, or a function is performing. Okay, so that we can improve public accountability. If the function is not performing appropriately, we need to provide that information, which will help in facilitating decision making, okay, or which will help to initiate corrective actions if the performance is not good. For example, in this case, we are talking about performance of a particular program. Okay. So this is a particular program over here. Rural water supply, urban water supply, details are given. Now here, this program is then evaluated whether this program is performing appropriately or not. And how it is evaluated, I'll show you. Here, the objective, if you see, is to assess whether proper policies plan in line with the national water policy were formulated based on the assessment of the requirement, availability of the water to provide safe and adequate quantity of drinking water, financial management was effective and the funds were provided in timely manner, adequate attention was accorded to the ensure sustainability of the water sources, repair and maintenance of the existing water supply assets were effectively for ensuring uninterrupted water supply, mechanism for monitoring of quality water supply and surveillance was adequate and effective. See, majority of the items over here are with respect to performance or whatever which is being promised in a particular scheme is on that, not on the financial area. But if you see the terms which are used over here, proper policies and plans in line with are there or not to provide safe, adequate drinking water. Okay, whether the things are provided or not as per the plan or the policy. Ensure sustainability of the water sources. Okay, repair and maintenance of the existing water supply. Monitoring of the quality of the water. So there are performance related things which are coming into the picture. And these performance related things are assessed based on audit criteria. How can I say today that, okay, proper plans and policies are there? Okay, how can I say whether monitoring of water quality is being done or not? How can I say repair and maintenance is being done or not? So there should be some plan, there should be some criteria. So that criteria is then, decided. For example, guidelines for implementation of the scheme or program. Like these are the various guidelines. So this is the public works department code according to which they need to work upon. There's a national water policy. There's a detailed project reports and feasibility study reports on various projects. There's a central public health and environmental engineering organization. Okay. Their operation and maintenance manuals are there. Okay. So these manuals play an important role to decide basically you can say the criteria against which the performance is evaluated. Okay. So if you see in a performance audit, I provide an independent assessment. Okay. With respect to a criteria. So with respect to a criteria, I talk on three things in a performance audit. I talk on economy. That is how I can minimize the cost of resource used for an activity. I talk on efficiency. Okay. That is input output ratio. Like how much I am getting by spending a particular amount. How can I maximize the output within given input? Let's say for this particular program, I have this much funds only. Then how can I get efficiency? How can I increase my input output ratio? And third is the effectiveness. Means, let's say in this particular program, it was supposed to be, this program was to provide adequate quantity of drinking water. How much effective is this particular program? Whether it is actually providing safe and adequate adequate quantity of drinking water. So that will be the effectiveness. Okay. And on the basis of that, I do the audit and I identify the observations. My observations can be related to inadequate planning, improper financial management, inadequate supply of water, poor quality of water supplied, deficient emphasis on sustainability and insufficient monitoring. Okay. So first point, inadequate planning. If your planning is not appropriate, means you are not giving economy. When you have an improper financial management, it's talk about economy. Okay. What is economy that we discussed? That is minimizing the cost used for an activity. By appropriately planning, we can minimize the cost. Okay. So that is not done over here. Inadequate planning in certain areas. Improper financial management means financial management was not appropriate, means the cost was not minimized. Inadequate supply of water. I'm talking about effectiveness over here. Poor quality, again talking about effectiveness. Deficient emphasis on sustainability and insufficient monitoring. If there is a improper monitoring, again it is going to the my input output ratio. That is the second part of the performance audit. Okay. So the second part of my performance audit talks about input output ratio, that is efficiency. How much efficiency is there, whether monitoring is being done or not, whether here if I talk about in this particular example, whether the emphasis is being placed on the sustainability or not. I'm talking about efficiency. Three pillars of my performance audit. And then if you go in detail, you will understand what is there. Okay. So what was the outcome? What was identified? So if I just provide you some examples, you will be able to understand. For example, over here, if you see this one, uh, over here, like what was the budgeted allotted, what was the expenditure incurred, if there was any savings or not, percentage of savings. Okay. And then what was the later on scenario with respect to the savings. So that was a plan which was there. Okay. And how actually it went from savings point of view, a detailed, analysis has been done. So a details for non-recovery of water charges, this much amount. A lot of things are then, is there. So in performance audit, you focus on these three things: my economy, my efficiency, and my effectiveness. So I decide I decide the objectives. We do the planning in the audit. Okay. Planning means it is not a normal planning that we do in the financial audit, like identify the material items, perform a risk assessment. But planning means strategic planning, understanding the function, understanding the particular activity, program. Okay. We document that particular strategic plan, operational plan. Then these performance audits are understood. Like, for example, I will understand the particular program, do the preliminary study. I will identify, okay, what is the applicable criteria with respect to economy, efficiency, effectiveness. Then audit will be conducted, report will be performed, analysis will be done of the evidences. Okay. Then the report will be shared, draft report will be prepared. That draft report will be discussed with the various stakeholders. And then the final performance audit will be issued. Okay. Clear? So this is how, the planning is done for the performance audit. Understanding the entity or program, you define the objectives and the scope of audit, determine the audit criteria, the way we saw the audit criteria earlier. If I show you in an example itself. What was the first thing was understand the entity or the program. Now, if you see in the current scenario, in the current example, they have provided what was the program about. Okay. Introduction to the program. Basically, rural water supply program is there. Okay. How much it is covering, how it is covering, everything they have understood in details. These are the rural water supply schemes, understanding the program. Okay. Which department is handling which program, what is the funding, from where the funding is coming. All these things are there. They are understanding the urban water supply program. Okay. Who is the responsible person who is maintaining the program? Okay. Urban water supply schemes. Okay. Other funding components. All these things are they are understanding how much and what department is included. What is the organizational structure of the particular department? Okay. Urban local bodies are there. Which urban local body is there? They are understanding all these things in detail. Understanding the program. Then you define the objective and the scope of audit. Okay. If you talk about the objective, this was the objective which was defined. Once they understand the program, they understand the parties involved, they define the objectives of or the scope of the audit. Like, and then they decide, okay, what is the audit criteria? Like once I decide the objective or the scope, I need to decide the criteria. We saw this particular criteria. Then they decide audit approach, how the audit will be conducted. Okay. If you see over here in this example, performance audit was conducted covering rural and urban water supply in Haryana for the period this month. The field study was conducted in 8 districts out of 22. Detailed methodology of the audit and office visited are detailed in Appendix 4. Okay. Entry conference was held in this particular month. Okay. Under the chairmanship of this particular person. The exit conference was held on this particular month. Okay. And the report then was presented. Then developing audit questions. Okay. Which you asked. You assess audit team skills and whether outside audit expertise is required or not. You prepared audit design metrics, and then you establish time and resource, and then you intimate about the audit program. That is one part. That is the planning of the audit, not performance. Performance will come. We are just talking about planning of the audit. And then based on the plan, you go and you perform the audit. Now, if I just show you Appendix 4 over here. See, this is the Appendix 4. Out of 22 districts, 20 were divided into two equal categories. Okay. After arranging the district in districting order of total waste based on expenditure area, rural and urban population, average rainfall and everything, that random sampling was done through computer assisted auditing techniques, and total 7 districts were selected from both strata. One additional district was selected as water supply, and this town was maintained by particular authority. Okay. Then what they did is, in addition to this, in some locations were selected in these districts for assessment of quantity of water supplied, quality of water supplied, okay, quantity and quality of water by conducting beneficiary survey. Okay. Then they have provided the offices where the surveys were done, all those details. Okay. Details of village covered. A lot of things are then, provided, and these are decided at the planning stage. Okay. So detailed audit approach, what we will be doing and how we will be doing. Clear? Any doubt with respect to the planning of a performance audit? Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? No? No doubt? Okay. If no further doubt, guys, let's take a quick 10-minute break. After the break, we'll gather back and we'll continue the session. Okay. Let's take a quick 10-minute break. Hello everyone, welcome back. Let's continue the discussion. So we were talking about performance audit. We saw how to plan a performance audit. Okay. Now the thing is, once you understand how to plan a performance audit, basically you get an idea. Okay, what performance audit is about. Okay, what kind of things are done in a performance audit, and how to proceed in case of a performance audit. Okay. Let me show you something with respect to the guidelines that have been issued by the CNAG. So basically, CNAG issued some guidelines on performance audit, like how to conduct performance audit basically, okay, in detail. So these guidelines basically talk about uh, general principles of performance audit, strategic auditing, planning and selection of audit topics, planning individual performance audit, implementing performance audits, evidence and documentation, reporting process, and follow up on performance audit. So let's understand few things out of this particular basically guidelines. So if I talk about performance audit, again, it majorly focus on three categories, three main pillars. One is an economy, that is minimizing the cost resources used by by acquiring them in due time, appropriate quantity and quality at the best price. Second is the efficiency, the relation between the resource employed and the output delivered in terms of quantity, quality and timing. Okay. And third is an effectiveness, meeting the objectives set and achieving the intended results. So when I talk about economy, it is kind of requiring this requires assessing whether in the given context the resource have been acquired, held, and used economically, acquired in due time, within the time, okay, in appropriate quantity and quality at the best price. Means whatever resource is there, whether I'm acquiring in a due time, it should not be there that I'm acquiring the resources more than what is required, which requires me to store the resources. Okay, so if I acquire more resource than required, I will be incurring storing cost, warehousing cost, or whatever it can be. Appropriate quantity, if let's say I'm acquiring resources which are lesser than the required, then I might have to incur multiple times, incur the freight cost, transportation cost, or it may happen there could be a delay once I receive the required quantity to complete the project. So if there is a delay, then it might you might pay a pending higher interest cost on the project, or there could be some negative side of the delays on the project. Again, quality at the best price, because with the passage of the time there is an escalation of the price, inflation is into the picture. So are you delaying the procurement, which is hampering the project, plus the procurement price, plus the quality of the product that you are getting it, or how you are managing the quality with the procurement? All these things are part of the economy. When I talk about efficiency, efficiency means getting most from the available resources. Okay, so whether the output that you are getting by utilizing whatever resource you are getting, okay, is the optimum level of output. Means it should be in terms of that I am getting maximum whatever I am able to get. Okay. And third is the effectiveness, that talks about basically between the distinguishing between the immediate outputs and products and the ultimate impact of the outputs. So for example, when I talk about efficiency, I talk about input output. Okay, with the given input, whether I'm getting the maximum output or not. But in effectiveness, I take this output, maximum output I'm talking about, whether this maximum output is sufficient or not. That is something I measure in the effectiveness. So basically, in a performance audit, you focus on two things. Are things done in a right way? Are things done, right things being done or not? So if you answer these two questions for any of a project, any of the activity, any of the program, you are doing performance audit. Are things being done in a right way? Whatever way is there as per the subject matter, whether the audit is being done in that particular way. Number two, are the things done, are those things right in their context? Okay. So these two things are very important, in performance audit. And, while auditing the second question, that is, are the right things being done? An auditor has to always keep in mind what was the scope of the audit. Okay. So caution should be exercised by not going beyond the audit mandate, by respecting the roles assigned to the executive and the audit. Okay. Then again, it's a three-party audit. Okay. The auditor, the first party is the auditor. The second party is the responsible party, which is managing the program activity or which is being audited over here. And the third party is the intended users. As I told you in the start itself, the intended users, where your report is going on, where is the report going to be used? First by CNAG, then legislature, then government, then various committees. All these are intended users. So you need to understand all these three parties. One, auditor, I always understand, that is fine. Second, who is the responsible party over here? That is, you need to identify. And third is the intended users. Then you need to understand the subject matter. You need to understand the audit criteria. Okay. To evaluate the economy, efficiency, and the effectiveness of the operations. In that case, then the level of assurance or confidence that you are providing, okay, whether you are providing reasonable assurance, what level of assurance that you are giving on that performance audit that should be appropriately reported. Okay, what should be expected as an outcome of this performance audit? Okay, that should be specifically provided. Then there are general principles, ethics and independence that is applicable, okay, to the performance audit. Then there are audit approach that should be, problem or system oriented audit approach should be followed to, design the audit program. Okay, audit criteria should be based on the economy, efficiency, and effectiveness principles. Then auditor should actively manage audit risk. Okay. Communication should be there the way we have seen. Skills, audit team should have the necessary professional competency to perform the audit. Technical skills should be there. Professional judgment should be involved. Like auditors should exercise professional skepticism and exercise professional judgment. Quality control. Okay. All these logical things are seen, which are there in an audit. Auditor should consider materiality at all stages of the audit process. Okay. Now, here, when I talk about materiality, it's not only to the financial, but also social and political aspects of the subject matter. Okay. So materiality is not only by the monetary value, okay, but it should be beyond monetary value. On the social impact, on the political aspects of the subject matter that should be paid attention while determining the materiality. Documentation is required to be done at each and every stage of the audit. Strategic audit planning should be done. Okay. So that, appropriate plans can be prepared. which include your assessing risk, materiality and significance, visibility. You need to consider your past audit before deciding the risk assessment, estimated impact of the performance audit, okay, coverage, how much you are covering, the stage of the program. So at what stage you are doing the performance audit with respect to that particular program. Then you need to plan an individual performance audit that we have already seen. Okay, like all these details. Like for example, you need to understand the entity or program. You need to define audit objectives, scope of audit, like what will be audited, who will be the key players. Okay, where the entity is situated, which period is there. Okay, determining the audit criteria, source of criteria. We need to understand service of expert for developing criteria could be obtained, refining the criteria and acceptance by the entity, whether the entity is following that criteria or not. Okay, whether the entity has considered even at the start, okay, while implementing the program, that criteria or not. Characteristics of good criteria, what could be a good criteria, deciding the audit approach. Okay, it could be analysis of procedure, case studies, use of existing data, surveys, analysis of result, quantitative analysis. Okay, then you need to develop audit questions. Okay, audit questions should be top-down approach should be followed. Okay, this is my objective. So to satisfy this objective, what should be the sub-objectives? If these are the sub-objectives, what questions I should ask to satisfy these particular sub-objectives? And to answer this question, what further questions I need to ask? A top-down approach should be followed to, develop a audit question is. Then you need to design audit metrics. Okay, audit design metrics, which gives particular, kind of what are the audit objectives, what audit questions you will ask in front of that, what is the criteria against which you will evaluate the answers that you will get out of the question, which will be kind of a evidence, data collection and analysis method that you will perform. So all these things you need to document in a matrix form that is known as the audit design matrix. Establish the timetable and resources. Intimation of the audit is required to be given. Okay, and then accordingly you need to particularly plan that performance audit. Then it comes the implementation of the performance audit. That is, basically how you implement whatever is planned. Okay, you determine the audit criteria, you obtain the audit evidence, you evaluate the audit findings, determine the cause and effect of the findings, develop audit conclusions, and develop audit recommendations in, at the end of the performance audit. Again, with respect to the documentation, at various stage, you need to document various things. I'll not go in much detail with respect to the documentations because it's same. The concept is the same with respect to the documentation. Reporting process, like preparation of the audit observation, draft report is presented to the entity. You get the response from the entity. You prepare an exit conference. Then senior management response to the report is there. You finalize the draft final report. Then you submit your report, with the response given by the government to the CNAG. Again, this is the whole audit implementation cycle, okay, which talks from start to end and of the audit. And these are the certain guidelines which are already provided by CNAG with respect to the performance audit. Same way, there are guidelines with respect to the compliance audit issued by CNAG. Then there are standing orders which are applicable, which are issued by CNAG, which basically are required to be followed. Okay, with respect to they are kind of accounting standards like orders which are issued. So auditing standards. So CNAG auditing standards kind of are specific standards are issued. So there are section-wise standards, basically financial standards for financial audit. Then there are standards for performance audit. Different standards are issued, and different requirements are enumerated in those standards. Okay, so that is a basically CNAG, specific standards, and they are available on the CNAG website also. Again, these are on the similar lines that what we have seen in our standards also. They are on the similar level. Performance audit. Okay. If no further doubts, let's discuss one question. In this one, rather discussing with respect to the observations, let's discuss, what kind of things are being, reviewed over here. So, for example, the objective of the audit in connection with the state electricity distribution company were to ascertain whether the total cost of providing electricity is being recovered by timely submission to the State Electricity Regulation Commission. Tariff orders, sales circular, sales instruction were issued timely without any ambiguity, and they were implemented in time. Meter billing collection was managed efficiently. Monitoring and internal controls were efficient or not. And there are some observations given. First observation is non-replacement of defective burnt meters. Large number of meters in which excess of permitted limit of 1% of total meters were defective, and their replacement was not completed within the stipulated time of 1 month. This resulted in billing an average basis of continuous period of several months. This could result in losses as well as administration hassles and dispute with the consumers. Okay. Now, this is an observation given. Can you tell me which category of observation this could be? Whether I classify this for the economy, I classify this for the efficiency, or I classify for the effectiveness. What kind of particular observation this will be? What kind of observation I will classify this into? This is sample observation, but what classification I can give this to this particular observation over here? Whether I call this observation as an observation with respect to efficiency related matter, economy related matter, or effectiveness related matters. Okay, good, Anumula. What else, guys? Come on. Any other answers? Good, Mansha. Very good. Very good, Kriti. Very good, Charu. Yes. Come on, guys. Under which category I will classify this particular observation? Can I say in this particular first observation that, okay, whatever resources were spent by the government behind generation and supply of electricity was not recovered appropriately through billing because average billing was happening. So can I say the input for the government which is providing, okay, is not the appropriate output that it is being received? Can I talk about input output over here? Because the government is kind of spending more than compared to what is they are getting. Can I say that in this conduct scenario? That government is not getting what that government should supposed to get. If I talk about not getting what I'm supposed to get, okay, basically that falls under the category of economy. Reason because I have to take appropriate quantity quality at the best price. Efficiency will come into the picture when I say, okay, this is the input and this should be the output and that should be the maximum output. I'm not talking about input output ratio over here. I'm talking about what economy, minimizing the cost. Are things being done in the right way? Okay. So whether I am getting whatever, best I can get, whether I am minimizing the cost as much as I can, answer is no, because the average billing is happening. It could result into an economy, means, expenditure is not done economically. Okay, I am government is spending over generation of the electricity, but it is not billing that much. So can be of economy nature. Same next one is on that particular part because there is short charging on the meter rent. Again, I'm not charging appropriately. In that case, again, it is a matter of economy. Sometimes it is not that much easily, clear line between whether the observation pertains to economy or efficiency or effectiveness. It can be mix of both. Okay, it can be mix of both. But again, you need to think, okay, what is the thing that here it is being missed? Like for example, not utilization of resources are not procured and or the whatever amount is spent. Okay, it is kind of spent which is I'm not getting any benefit out of it, or it is kind of that okay, how I can maximize my output. And effectiveness is kind of whether that output is sufficient or not. So basically you can say, when I talk about economy, I talk about minimizing the cost for the input. When I talk about efficiency, I talk about input output ratio. And when I talk about effectiveness, I talk about the maximizing output or output, whether that is sufficient or not. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? Efficiency will be when I, with a given input, I am talking about maximum output. Okay. If I'm not recovering something, it is a kind of problem with respect to the economy. Decisions are not being made, not made in a right way. Basically, when you talk about efficiency, that is something related more on the planning side. Planning side, you did not plan appropriately. That's why you are not getting maximum benefit with a given out input. Okay. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Okay. Now, the next type of audit that I want to discuss is more onto the sides of, combined nature of all. Okay. It's a comprehensive audit. Means it will include about performance. It will include about, efficiency. It may include about compliance. A comprehensive audit. Okay, it may include, financial matters, it may include compliance matters, it may include performance matter. So if everything are if multiple things are combined together, that becomes a comprehensive audit, that I have not restrict myself to a particular performance or compliance, but I look into, okay, multiple features together. So in a comprehensive audit, I perform kind of, basically financial compliance and performance audit together. Okay. And it, helps the CNAG to look a particular project to a particular or a particular scheme from a holistic point of view. Let's say, for example, I look at from financial point of view, I look at from compliance point of view, I look at from the performance point of view also. So all the points are taken together, and overall basis, comprehensive audits are performed to have a holistic view of that particular area, particular project, organization, or a plan or activity or a department. Okay. So basically, what things are focused in a comprehensive audit, like, how does the overall cost of capital of a project compared to the approved plant cost is being done or managed. Okay. Whether the plant production or operational output between, output has been achieved or not. Okay. Let's say I plan that I will operate at 80% capacity. Whether I am being operating at 80% capacity or not, what is the planned rate of return, whether that has been achieved or not compared to the budgeted one. System of projected formulation and execution is sound or not. Okay. Whether the cost control measures are adequate or not. Okay. Whether the purchasing policies are adequate or not. Does the enterprise have research and development programs? Okay. If the enterprise has an adequate system of repair and maintenance or not. Procedures are effective and economical or not. Is there any poor or insufficient, inefficient project planning? So I'll just show you one example with respect to this. Just a minute. So we saw in this particular example that there were certain multiple type of observations. Okay. One were related to the planning, certain were related to the financial areas like improper financial management in chapter 3. So I'll go to the chapter 3 and I'll share some details over there. See over here. Now in chapter 3, matters are related to the financial matters, financial management. If you see over here, what is the observation basically? Lack of departmental effort in making schemes self-sustainable. Okay. Second, non-recovery of water charges amounting to this many CR. Okay. Plus, collection of community contribution is related to collection of community contribution. Late release of state share. Non-completion of work within the time frames lead extra liability on the state government. So these are certain matters which are falling under the purview of financial area. Okay. So in comprehensive audit, in certain cases, financial matters are also studied. the overall impact of a particular project is also studied to give a holistic approach, not only with respect to the performance like efficiency, effectiveness, and the economy, but financial outflow, and also with respect to the compliance side. Okay, whether the compliance has been met or not. So, for example, uh, inadequate what supply of water, that is a chapter 4. Okay, observations. So sanction discharge for water works less than the required discharge. Okay, so the sanction amount was less than the required, means there is something which is not being complied with. Less storage capacity of storage and sediment tanks. And if you see over here, for the required capacity of SNS tanks during the closure period of canal, audit worked out of the requirement by taking prospective population. Okay, this is this. It was observed that in selected districts where water is supplied through canal, okay, 11% cases was found to be less than the actual requirement of population during closure period. Means there was a requirement, there was a compliance requirement based on the population, and the actual case was less than the required. Okay, now you have a case study basis also. So in testing, we saw there are case study basis testing also. Now they are talking about efficiency in revenue collection, efficiency issues with respect to the revenue collection. Then lack of planning leading to delay in construction of additional storage tank. So various kind of things are then looked into in a comprehensive audit. Okay, this is a performance audit, but in comprehensive audit, you combine all the details of financial, you go into more depth of the financial, you go in more detail of the compliance, and then you report all things together in one particular report. That is the comprehensive audit. Clear? Any doubt with respect to comprehensive audit, guys? Any doubt? Any doubt? No? Let's understand some, more about with respect. Now we have understood about, comprehensive audit, financial audit, performance audit, let's understand in, we understood, appointment by CNAG in certain cases. Okay, empanelment is there. But again, there are certain corporations or, enterprises which which fall under the purview of Companies Act. Okay, if they fall under the purview of Companies Act, then we need to understand in those scenarios also what is the requirement of the auditor. So I'll just show you something. Hmm. I'll show you one of the one audit report, annual report of a particular, public sector enterprise, public sector undertaking, and accordingly, then we can, discuss on that. Just a minute. So just a minute, it's getting stuck. It's being stuck. Okay. So I'll now show you one of the audit report of a public sector enterprise. And we'll try to understand basically the requirement over here. Okay, I'll go on top. Now, this is one particular entity. Okay, if I talk about shareholders over here to make you show that it's a public sector enterprise or public sector undertaking. If you see, 63% is with President of India. It's with government, basically. Okay. So that's why I'll classify this as a public sector undertaking. It's a PSU. And I'll go to the audit report. If you see this particular one, this is the comments of the CNAG, okay, under section 143(6)(b) of the Companies Act on the financial statement of this particular company. Okay, under section 143(6)(a). Now, what is section 143(6)(a)? Can anyone tell me what is this section about 143(6)(a)? Can you tell me what is the section 143(6)(a) of Companies Act? Very good, Manish. Section 143(6)(a). Come on, guys. What is section 143(6)(a)? Come on, guys. What is section 143(6)(a) in case of Companies Act? We have already discussed that one. Very good, Mancha. Very good, Anumula. It's about supplementary audit. Okay. Now, if you see the audit report over here, I'll come to that particular part also. If you see the audit report, everything is same. But I'll show you something different over here. Okay. If everything is same, then where is the difference that is coming from? The difference comes, okay, with respect to one particular section. With respect to one particular section. Can anyone tell me what is section 143(5) of Companies Act? 143(5). That is the section where a difference comes in this particular report. That will be the area where the difference will come. Section 143(5). Anyone? Earlier, I was talking about 143.6. Now I'm talking about 143.5. What is 143.5? Come on, guys. Pretty simple. Section 143.5 of Companies Act. We have already seen and discussed in much detail. Very good, Anumula. There are two parts to section 143.5. It talks about two things, not one. Anumula, that is only one thing you are talking about. There are two things which are discussed in that particular section. There are two aspects to that particular section. Come on, guys. Anyone? No? Okay, I'll tell you. So I'll tell you what is the second part of that particular section, and which is very important. Okay. This is section 143.5. Which talks about first appointment. Okay, by CNAG. That is fine. But the second part talks about direct such auditor the manner in which the audit of the accounts are required to be audited, and thereupon the auditor so appointed shall submit a copy of the report to the CNAG. Among the other things include the directions, if any, issued by the CNAG. So CNAG will direct to audit specific areas. An auditor has to, audit those specific areas. Second part of section 143.5. Okay. Now, as a result, okay, being this is a public sector undertaking, CNAG has guided the auditor to report on certain matters. A statement to that particular effect is added in the annual report. See, or as a part of the audit report. Direction issued by the CNAG under section 143.5 of the Companies Act, indicating the areas to be examined by the statutory auditors during the course of audit of annual accounts of this particular company. Okay, so these are the areas examined and what is the replies that has been submitted by the auditor. So just to show you whether the funds receivable for specific schemes from central state government or its agencies were properly accounted and utilized as per its terms and conditions, list the case of deviations. And over here, they have provided the reply. So there will be matters where CNAG will, ask you to do specific audit of those matters. And as an auditor, you are required to submit your report indicating what you have done on those areas plus the replies, which is over and above, audit of a normal company, which is present in PSU. So this is a specific PSU related disclosure. Okay. So that is a specific PSU related disclosure. Anumula, I have received just now your doubt. I'll take it. I'll complete this one topic. Okay. And once this report is submitted to the CNAG, CNAG then evaluates, okay, the particular report, and then they comment as per section 143(6) whether any supplementary audit is required to be done or not. So if you see over here, on the basis of the supplementary audit, nothing significant and come to my knowledge which would give rise to any comment or supplement to statutory auditor's report under section 143(6)(b) of the Act. So here there is one particular person appointed by CNAG who has conducted a supplementary audit of the financial statement of this particular company under section 143(6)(a). This supplementary audit has been carried out independently without access to the working papers of the statutory auditor and is limited primarily to the inquiries of the statutory auditor and the company personnel and the selective examination of some accounting records. And nothing has come to the knowledge based on the supplementary audit. So here, if you see, this is particular, notification issued by Indian Audit and Accounts Department. Okay. So this is how 143(5) and 143(6) play a very important role when it comes to the audit of a PSU. So that is something additional that you might have not seen till now in case of the audit of a private limited or a normal company. Any doubt with respect to 145 statement which is there, 143(5) statement and 143(6) that we just now discussed? Any doubt, guys? There is one doubt with respect to a comprehensive audit. Now, what is the difference between comprehensive audit and a normal audit? See, normal audit is your financial audit. Okay. Comprehensive audit is kind of a financial, your performance, your compliance, everything together. In normal audit, in normal financial audit, you do not focus on the performance related thing. You do not question on the effectiveness. You do not question on the efficiency. You might question on the economy because something it is related again to the financial input, but you do not question on the input output. Let's say, for example, in a company, there was a company was producing some goods. Now, during the production, company used input and a lot of scrap was generated because of the incorrect configuration of machine. You will not make that as an audit observation if that is appropriately accounted. But in comprehensive audit, it will be an observation because company did the settings of the machine appropriately, configuration of the machine appropriately, and that's why there was a wastage of resources. Wastage of resource is not an observation in a financial audit till the time it is appropriately recorded. Okay, so that is the difference between a normal audit and a comprehensive audit. Any doubt till now? Any doubt with respect to this part? Section 143(5) that we have discussed just now, 143(6) that I showed you, and anything that we have discussed till now. I'm trying to cover as much as possible with practical examples. See, this has to be supplemented with the reading. Okay. So whatever practically I'm explaining, you have to go and read that study material. Okay. You have to go and read the study material in detail. Only practical will not help you out. You need to also read out in detail what is the scenario. You need to go and read the study material after understanding practically. Because once you understand practically, you will be able to understand what is written in the study material more easily. That will help you to understand the topics. And that's why practical understanding with the reading is must. and rather, practical, after practical understanding, you will be having, easy reading, kind of, I could say. You will be able to understand the topics. That's why it is recommended, or it is kind of, you should do that. After the completion of the chapter, please read in detail the whole chapter. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? No? No doubts? Okay. The next part I want to cover is proprietary audit. Now, we need to understand what is proprietary audit, and that is something not new. Again, I'm not saying it's a new topic, it's something that we have already understood. Just a different name with a different, you can say, side of the audit or part of the audit. Okay. So, what is proprietary audit? Proprietary audit is kind of a verification of the transaction to test public interest, commonly accepted customs or standards of conduct. Means whether the transactions are done, okay, to report on, to satisfy the economy, to satisfy the public interest, okay, kind of a question whether right thing has been done or not. Okay, so when I talk about proprietary audit, it talks about whether the right thing has been done or not. That is a question that is being answered in the proprietary audit. You can say it's a kind of a subset or part of the performance audit. Okay, so it basically talks about whether any improper, avoidable, or any such expenditure has been incurred which is unfruitful, which is not as per the regulations, okay, which is should have not been done in the public interest, where expenditure incurred from the public money is kind of wasting the public money. So when you audit on that aspect, it becomes proprietary audit. Okay, it becomes proprietary audit. For example, when I talk about in case of a company, okay, when I talk about a company, the matters enumerated in section 143(1) are in nature, are in proprietary nature. Okay, whether loans and advances made by the company on the basis of security are sorry, whether loans and advances made by the company on the basis of security has been properly secured, whether the terms are prejudicial to the interest of the company or not, whether the transactions of company are represented by the book entries, whether the company, not being an investment company, okay, or a banking company, have sold share as less than the price than they purchased, whether the loans and advances has been shown as deposits, means something which is not in the interest of company. Again, proprietary in nature. So in proprietary audit, we talk about something which is not in interest of that particular party. When I talk about public sector undertaking, the money is by the public. So something which is not, in interest of public, that is a proprietary audit. For examples, there are certain examples, kind of, that the expenditure is not prima facie more than the occasion demands. Okay, general principles that should be followed, with respect to the proprietary audit. Like, for example, what we are checking, that every official exercise same degree of vigilance in respect of expenditure as a person of ordinary prudence would exercise in respect of his own money. Means they are, whether they are utilizing the money, public money, by by taking care that they should have taken it, okay, whether the authority exercise its power sanctioning expenditure to pass an order, okay, which will not directly or indirectly to accrue its own advantage, means whether anyone is taking advantage of the position or authority or the power, okay, for its own benefit, that the funds are not utilized for the benefit of a particular person or a group. Rather, it is, if they are the public funds, then they should be utilized for the benefit of larger public. That apart from the agreed remuneration or reward, no other revenue is kept open indirectly to benefit the management personnel, employees, or other. Means the persons who are on the management level or who are managing the project activity fund, they should not be getting any advantage other than the remuneration which is fixed under the project. So kind of expenditures are incurred and planned properly. Okay. The size and channel of the expenditure are rightful. Expenditures are likely to give optimum results. Okay. So all these things, okay, return from capital expenditure, whether expenditure are done with respect to keeping in mind public interest, all these things give, or help to understand whether the appropriateness of an expenditure, whether the appropriateness of a project is there or not with respect to the public interest. And that is a proprietary audit. It's more on the moral or ethical way. Talking about public at a large. But if I talk about proprietary audit, there is a downside also, because what happens is when you do a proprietary audit, you have to take care of all the things. And when you do the audit, you do once the expenditure is done, once the timeline has been passed, and then you do the audit. Let's say, for example, expenditure was done in FY22. You will be auditing after completion of FY22. So a lot of times you need to understand what was the situation at that particular point in time, what information was available at that particular point in time, and whether the decision has been taken is appropriate with respect to that particular information. For example, okay, so there was, let's say, for example, there was a construction of a dam on a particular river. Now, dam was constructed at that particular point in time by seeing the flow of the water. That is perfectly fine. Huge amount was invested. But after a year of construction, okay, the water in that particular river drastically reduced due to less rainfall. Okay. Now, there was no such water because of the low water level. The dam was not operating its maximum capacity, electricity was not being generated, and dam remained unutilized. Now at later point in time, when someone audited the dam, the project, with respect to how its performance it is, okay, they identified dam is not operating as per its predefined capacity or the budgeted capacity. So the question was raised on uh, the nature of the expenditure that was incurred behind the dam, the plan expenditure, the proprietary nature included, okay, whether it was necessary to build the dam. But at the same time, the conditions are required to be taken care, are required to be considered, which were present at the time of making that decision. Whether the information was available that in next year there will be less rainfall, there will be no need of them, or the dam will remain unutilized. So whenever you are doing a proprietary audit, you need to understand, okay, what information was available at that particular point in time, and based on that information, whether the decision that has been taken is an appropriate decision or not, whether the decision is in public interest or not. So both things are required to be taken care. Public interest plus, we should understand what information was available, and based on that, whether the best decision has been taken or not. I hope I am clear with the proprietary audit. Any doubt with respect to this particular type of audit? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? Okay. So there is one question with respect to Public Accounts Committee, Estimates Committee, and the Committee on Public Sector Undertaking. See, when I talk about Public Account Committee, it's not only related to the public undertakings. No, it's not only related to public sector undertakings. It talks about all the public accounts. It includes state government accounts, central government accounts, accounts related to the schemes, projects, plans, authorities, different local bodies. Everything is covered. Okay. When I talk about Public Account Committee, when I talk about the estimate committee, it is talking about the estimates being made at various stages, under these various bodies, authorities, state government, central government, and everything. But when I talk about committee on public undertaking, okay, committee on public undertakings, it is a specific committee dealing with the accounting, finance, or review of audit report, financial statement of public undertakings. So Public Accounting Committee, PAC, has a wider scope which covers public undertakings plus other local institutions, local bodies, state government, central government, everything. But when I talk about Committee on Public Undertaking, it is restricted to the public undertakings only. So that is the difference between both of them. I hope I have answered your query, Charu. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? No? Okay. So what is required to be done as the next steps? So that is with the chapter, okay, 15. Now what I want you to do, number one, read chapter 15 in detail after this lecture, or before start of next lecture. I want you guys to read chapter 15 in detail. Okay. You read the chapter, you come up with your doubts, and based on that, I will, resolve your doubts. But a reading is necessary. Again, a reading is necessary. Number two, before start of the next lecture, again, I always recommend that before start of the next lecture, please read about the chapter. At least understand what topics are there, what is, content of the chapter. Try to, read something out of the chapter. If not fully, then try to read out the topics, partial chapter or something. In next lecture, we will be covering chapter 16, that is internal audit. Okay, again, I'll try to cover as practical as possible, but I want you to read the chapter so that you guys can have a good understanding when I will explain practically about the chapter, about the topics. Okay. So, number one, you need to read this chapter. Number two, you need to read chapter 16. Plus, over and above that, at the end of each chapter, you have already some, questions. These one, test your knowledge questions. You can solve these questions. You should solve these questions. Okay. Answer is also given. Answer to test your understanding. Try to solve this question by your own, and then you try to compare the answer. Okay. And then you see whether your answer is matching the requirement, or the whatever answer is given or not. It is whether it is up to the mark that which is given in that or not. Okay. So these questions are necessary to be solved. Plus, over and above that, if you go on the BOS website, I'll just show you. This is the BOS website. Okay. Over here, you already have, revision test papers, previous year question papers, you have mock test paper series. Okay. You have MCQs or case scenario booklets. You can go and refer this particular topic from these particular, you know, uh, material. For example, you go to mock test paper, you go for final one. Okay. Final, this is the final one, intermediate and final examination, November 22. Then you have May 23. After login, you will get that particular one. Okay, you can go and you can click on that and you can get the mock test paper of the final. Let's say this is a mock test paper for the November 22. Okay, although old one, but still, if the question is relevant of the same topic, you can take out the question, you can practice this out. Let's say, for example, over here, there is one question on the public sector undertaking. Read the question, try to form your own answer. Okay. And on the basis of that, once you form your own answer, you can check the answer, what is given. By this way, you can practice about the topic. The more you will practice, the more you will understand. Okay. So material is available. Please do not hesitate from practicing. Material is available. Please do not hesitate from practicing. Okay, so there is one doubt that public undertaking committee is limited to public companies and other two are cover recommendation on public company and other than the public company also. Yes, Sharu. They cover other areas also. Can you explain topic number 9 on page 15.31? Just a minute. Okay, audit report of the CNAG. So just now we saw the audit report. Okay, that contains, I'll just show you quickly. Introduction, result of comprehensive appraisals, resume of the company's auditor, and significant results. I'll show you how this report is there. So the report of CNAG basically talks about these areas. For example, this is one particular report. So what this report covers is, for example, introduction. Okay, that is there, like the content of the report. They provide introduction, results of the comprehensive appraisals. Now, if you see in this particular scenario, comprehensive appraisal means testing. Whatever testing you have done, those results will be there. Inadequate planning, improper, inadequate, whatever observations have been identified. Okay. Then what is the next is there is resume of the company's auditor, report submitted by them and under the directions issued by CNAG, that the comment on the account of government companies. Okay. Basically, you will find over here. Compliance with the audit observations, kind of, detailed observations which are given over here with various public sector undertakings. Like these are the observations which are there from their individual report, which is submitted to them. Okay. So kind of resume means a summary. kind of a summary is there. Okay, and then significant results of the audit of the undertakings not taken up for the appraisal by the audit board. Means if something is not taken up by the audit board, so significant results of the audits of those undertaking. So if there is something over and above which is done, so that will be the fourth part of that particular audit report. So this is how basically, CNAG presents his report to the parliament. It is the sections which are there in the audit report or in the CNAG report that I'm showing you over here. This one. Kind of a, what are the contents of these reports? I hope I'm clear. Charu and Anumula. Any further doubt, guys? Any further doubt? Any further doubt? No? If no further doubts, then we keep the session till here. In the next session, I will be taking up, I'll be starting new chapter. Okay. Okay, guys, then thank you. Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you in the next lecture. Yes.